Welcome back to For Real. My name's Claire. Thank you very much for joining me today. Now, today's video is going to cover 6 unexpected tips for living in Cambodia. There are a lot of videos about, tips for living in Cambodia out there on YouTube, and they often cover things that hopefully you already know. So, the first thing is Facebook groups. Now, if you're not a Facebook user, that's fine, but you should still join Facebook just so that you can join Facebook groups, because Facebook groups are where it's at in Cambodia in terms of getting information, sharing information, and keeping up to date with what's going on. You can find Facebook groups for things like expat groups, so expats living in Siem Reap, there's lots of groups. If you search for those kind of keywords in Facebook, you'll find heaps of groups for that. Same with Phnom Penh and Kampot. There's also groups that cover things like interests. So if you're interested in playing chess, I know there's a group for that. If you're interested in bicycle riding around the temples, there's probably a group for that. But where these groups really come into their own is in terms of finding real estate. So there are heaps and heaps of them in Phnom Penh, Kampot and Siem Reap. So you'll just need to do some searches for keywords, but I'll also put some of the better known ones here. Some of them are public groups, some are private, and you'll see that some are also, they're not all created equal, some are moderated much more heavily than others. So you'll find that pretty quickly which ones are the good ones. Now, you will find a huge range of properties available for rent in those Facebook groups, and they're a really great place to start and a great place to find, just get a sense of what the prices are like in the different areas. Now, most of the people that post in those Facebook groups do tend to be real estate agents. So as you know, because they're agents, they're advertising on behalf of a landlord. And because of that, they're out to make a commission on any rentals where they find the successful tenant. So if you ask underneath one of the ones that's available for rent what the exact location is, it's very unlikely they're going to tell you, because if you were able to go there by yourself, you would probably see on the property or outside the property, there'd be a sign and it would say apartment for rent and a phone number, or 2 phone numbers usually. And those phone numbers are going to be for the owner. So if you go there of your own volition without the agent, you're going to see that number, you're going to call it. The owner's going to come and show you an apartment, and the agent will not receive the commission. So just be warned about that. They're not going to tell you exact locations. Okay, our second unexpected tip for living in Cambodia is to do with banks. Now, in Australia, banks keep really, really shitty hours. So they open later than most other things, they close earlier. They're not open on Saturdays for the most part, and if they are, they close by like 11 o'clock or something. Definitely not open on Sundays. In Cambodia, the best bank, or the bank that we recommend, is ABA Bank, and all of their branches keep standard hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. So this is brilliant because it means that you can access the tellers if you need to do anything like opening a bank account, or if you've got any issues with your account, things like that. But what it also means is that if you go to get money out from the ATMs that are at that branch, if something happens with your card and you go within branch hours, there's somebody there that can help you get your card back. So I would recommend whenever you're withdrawing cash, just get in the habit of doing it while the branch is open, so that if anything happens with the card, you can go straight in, you can ask the people, and they can retrieve the card for you. Good tip. Another tip that I've got for you, and also kind of along the same lines, is often you'll hear about Cambodians being very, very picky when it comes to the quality of American dollars. So I'm talking about the quality of the note itself. It's got any rips or tears, it's got any little marks on it, little kind of dot from a pen that somebody's put there. They'll see it and they'll try and give it to you because they think that foreigners don't realize that these notes are less desirable, and foreigners are generally, I guess, less likely to check these notes. But they can be hard when you come to use it later on. It can be very hard to get someone to accept it. So if you get one of these dodgy notes in change, and eventually it will happen, just because you're not always on your guard and you're not always wanting to check notes, sometimes it's dark, whatever. And sometimes you'll withdraw money and you'll get a dodgy note from the ATM. Go back to the ATM, and with your ABA account, you can insert your card and you can deposit the notes, the dodgy notes, straight back into their system. No problem, no questions asked. unexpected tip when you're living in Cambodia is to do with pharmacies and medication. Now, it doesn't work the same way as it does in Australia and in the West. You don't need a script for medications. In general, if they have it at the pharmacy, they'll be more than happy to hand it over, and they're not judgmental at all about that. So what it means is that you can go there, you can ask for whatever you need, and in whatever quantity that you're prepared to pay. It's a simple business transaction for them. They're not kind of, the holders of sort of, medical practice as they kind of are in Australia. So if you ask for it and they have it, they will sell it to you. So this includes things like things that you definitely can't get over the counter in Australia. So things like Valium, things like Stilnox, pain medication with codeine in it you can get, all those sorts of things. So just it's a two-sided double-edged sword, I guess. Like, it's a good that you can access that stuff if you need it, but it's also bad because those things, there's a reason that they are restricted in other countries, like in the West, because they can be highly addictive. So be careful with your intake of that stuff, but just to know that you don't need a script and you can go to any pharmacy for those things. When it comes difficult is if you are somebody who has a condition like ADHD. The medications associated with that are very, very difficult to come by in Cambodia. So I've seen like a lot of, conversations in expat groups and forums about that kind of thing. So just be mindful of that if you need that kind of medication. And very difficult to find, and also you'd probably want to have some kind of supporting documentation if you're carrying that stuff, because the reason they don't supply it is because it's considered to be quite dangerous. Same with narcotics, so anything Oxycontin, Oxy, whatever. Still on Healthline, so our unexpected tip number 4, I think it's number 4, yes, number 4, is that blood banks in Cambodia are operating quite differently to how they are in the West. So you'll often see notices in Facebook groups if somebody's friend, like an expat, has had an accident on a bike and they need a blood transfusion, or somebody's posting on behalf of a Cambodian person that they know who needs a blood transfusion. The way it works in Cambodia is that if the person needs 5 bags of blood, for example, then the family or the relatives need to get 5 people to go and donate blood. So they need to donate the equivalent to release it at the other end for the patient. Now, this is why when you ask, when people ask, oh, what blood type does it need to be? It doesn't matter. It's because it works on a 1 in, 1 out kind of principle. I guess this is different if you're talking about the really rare blood types, but for the most part, it operates on a 1 in, 1 out kind of policy. Okay, the 5th unexpected tip is to do with getting things around Cambodia. So you'll find once you get there and you've been living for a while, you might want to order things from, particularly if you're not living in Phnom Penh, you might want to order things from places that don't have an outlet. For example, Decathlon is a really great place to buy clothes, shoes, socks, backpacks, whatever you might need. It's just a really great resource. But if you don't live in a place that has one, you can get that stuff delivered, and it will be delivered very, very quickly, but not by the postal service. They always use courier services. And the way it works is that they put your phone number on the outside of the package. It gets delivered to the depot of that particular courier service, of which there are many, many. They'll give you a call and tell you where it is you can pick it up. You go and show them your phone number and show them the receipt, and they'll hand over the package to you. It's very, very cheap. It's very, very effective. You can get stuff from one end of the country to the other, like pretty much the next day. It's just a wonderful service. It really does make Cambodia go round, courier services. And the 6th item that I wanted to talk about today, the unexpected tip, is that when you're using things like PHARMACIES and tuk-tuks, so when we say, this is probably a bit confusing actually, tuk-tuk we refer to as the bigger one that's pulled by a motorbike. When we're talking about PHARMACIES, we're talking about the little 3-wheel, all-in-one kind of things that get you around in the city. So you'll want to download PHARMACIES or Grab, the app, and then you can use those to request either the small 3-wheel one, a proper tuk-tuk, you can request a car, whatever you like really. But we prefer to use the app because we find that it's cheaper, and we also find that it's much, much easier than haggling every time you want to just go from A to B. And you still have the capacity to give the driver a tip at the end of the ride, which we always do because the price is cheaper. The other thing that's really great about using one of those apps instead of just approaching somebody on the street is that you put in the address where you want to be picked up from and also the address where you want to go. So you don't need to bother trying to explain where it is that you want to go, which can sometimes cause a bit of confusion and, you know, is a difficulty that you don't need. So we would advise using the app just because it's so much easier and it can be connected with your ABA account. So you don't need to actually use cash except for the tip that you give to the driver. Just on that though, some drivers will ask you if you can cancel the booking once they get there to pick you up. And this means that if you cancel it, they will request that you pay them directly. And that means that they don't have to pay the commission to the rideshare company like PassApp or Grab. So they're just kind of getting around the system to earn a little bit more money. If they ask, we're always happy to do that. I mean, it's fine. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed these 6 unexpected tips for living in Cambodia. If you've got some of your own, I'd love to hear about them in the comments section. That would be awesome. If you disagree with any of the things that I said in today's video, by all means, you probably don't need an invitation for that because you'd do it anyway, but go right ahead. It's always good to have a conversation about this stuff in the comments. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.